We are Makilala TV, the first Filipino-American TV talk show in the New York metro area. Get to know us as we talk to the community leaders, innovators, advocates, and emerging artists who affect Filipino-American life.
I have always dreamed of having a family of my own and surround my baby with a loving family and friends. However, 6 months into my pregnancy of my first baby, New York State went into lockdown and I had to relocate to my parents' home in Long Island, begin working from home, go into my doctor's visits without my spouse or my mom, have no in-person childbirth classes, and essentially be physically cut off from the rest of the world. So I had many fears and unknowns, even today, for myself and my new family. And here at Makilala TV, I'm joined with my co-hosts, Jen Fuhrer and Christina Pastor, and we will hear from two other moms who went through similar tribulations and more. The first mom that we have on Makilala TV is Kaye de Gracia, 35-year-old Filipino-American who migrated to the States from the Philippines and prior to that from Kuwait. Since 1989, Kaye had grew up in Queens, New York and Long Island. She had studied nursing and nurse anesthesiology at the University at Buffalo and is currently serving our community here in the tri-state area and Long Island. She is a mother to 3-year-old Aria and newborn Gemma. We also have a second guest, Meredin Villanueva, who was born and raised in New Jersey. She is a Filipino-American actress, producer, and writer based in Los Angeles. She has been involved with several organizations such as Philam Creative, Filipino Workers Center, PhilPro, and Unipro. She became a first-time mother this year in May to a beautiful girl named Everdeen. So, Kaye, Meredin, welcome to Makilala TV. I'd like to get right into it. My first question is, what has been the biggest expectation let down while having a baby during the pandemic? Kaye, go first.
I think the biggest letdown was not being able to celebrate the actual birth with my friends and my family. You know, like us being Filipinos, we're very, very connected with our friends and family. We want to make sure that we have big parties and the recognition for our child. So that was really hard, and especially like during the summertime where I was due in October, so I wanted to have a party in the summertime, like a pool party, and have our friends and family over just to celebrate the coming birth. But obviously that couldn't happen just because of the disease, the COVID-19 that's being currently like taking over the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Meredin, how about you? What's the biggest letdown?
Same here. I mean, we wanted to celebrate with all of our friends and families here. And unfortunately, you couldn't have more than one person come to the hospital when you had the birth of your child. I think my biggest letdown for sure was not even having a baby shower. Actually, like when Everdeen was born, it was like the COVID pandemic just happened, and we were just starting to do these virtual. It wasn't popular at that moment, like to do virtual baby showers. So by then she was already born. But thankfully, our friends and family did send gifts. But you know, just to reiterate, Filipinos do love to celebrate with a lot of people, and unfortunately, we weren't able to do that physically. So, but we're still glad. Yeah. We're still glad to keep healthy.
Yeah.
My question to the three young moms, brand new moms, is being pregnant put you at a high risk for COVID, and what precautions did you take?
Mm-hmm.
Being pregnant in itself, a pregnant woman is an immunocompromised individual. So yes, they are more susceptible to being sick. What was the other part of the question?
What precautions did you take at the time that you were pregnant?
I mean, I was pregnant very early on during the height of the pandemic here in New York. So obviously wearing masks was major. And at the time, we didn't know what type of mask would be acceptable to help prevent the contraction of getting COVID. So we were just wearing simple masks at the time, but literally all of our colleagues started dropping like flies. So then we increased it to possibly a respiratory illness. So then we ended up putting the N95 mask, and we noticed a lot of us were more protected, like less people were dropping off. Yeah. So that happened with us. And obviously hand washing was huge. Whatever we saw in China, whatever was going on there, they were able to give us some information and some insight of what we could do to help prevent the contraction of COVID. But obviously there's still so much to know because there's a lot that we don't know. Even to this day, we're already like 9 months into it, almost an entire year.
What about Meriden?
So I think I was already 6 months pregnant, and that's when everything started. I worked in a lot of production shows, so as soon as the whole like chaos happened, we started wearing face masks. That's definitely number one, and getting hand sanitizer. I think in LA there's definitely a lot of panic buying, so hand sanitizers were sold out, gloves, masks, toilet paper, remember that? But yeah, and at work, we were all kind of like freaking out, like we weren't sure what was going to happen. So production started to just stop. Like they were dropping like flies. Like it just was a whole total shutdown in the entertainment industry because, you know.
Is it like you were protecting yourself and you were also protecting your child within?
Oh yeah, of course.
I mean, like, psychologically, how did that affect you?
I think our biggest concern was just, you know, obviously trying to keep ourselves healthy for the baby, but we had to just kind of just jump. You just had like that motherly instinct to be like, okay, should I continue going to work? But then everything shut down anyway. So, but yeah, I think our OBGYN doctor just stopped, or just started limiting having your partner with you to go to your doctor visits. And so it's just like, it was just across the board within like 2 week span. It's just like went 0 to 100 really quick.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah, I think that's one of it. It's not being with the people that you love going through this process. I mean, as a future Lola, I can't be there for my daughter who's, you know, expecting her baby in December. And, you know, how do you deal with parents like me who want to be around you, who want to be with the grandchildren? I mean, how do you balance, you know, make sure that your children, that you're staying healthy and doing all the precautions at the same time, you know, taking care of the needy Lolas or Lolos that want to be around?
That must have been hard, Jen.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm gonna cry now.
No problem.
I mean, it's my first grandchild, it's my daughter's first child, and you want to be there, going to the doctor, buying stuff. Okay, you have to take over because I'm crying now.
You know, I'm at a bias. Being in the healthcare field, education is always number one. So we try to, at least I try to educate my own family. Thankfully, my mom is a nurse and she's a retired nurse, so she kind of understands and she's able to tell my dad what we can and cannot do. For instance, my child was born in October, so we encouraged everyone to get their flu shot if possible. And the flu shot itself is not active for another 2 weeks. So we had to tell them, you know, you have to stay away for at least another 2 weeks. Or if you wanted to come and see our child, you could come say hi at the door, but wear a simple face mask. Yeah, so it's hard. It's not easy because you can't hold your grandchild, at least not quite yet. Right. So culturally, it's very hard because, you know, the grandparents want to be there. Same thing. It's understandable. So we try to do our best to kind of plan ahead, but there's only so much that you can do because babies are going to come whenever they want to come. They could come really early. They could come even later. So it's hard to say like, oh, the grandparents have to quarantine for 14 days before coming in. I mean, you may not even have to do that. It's also at the discretion of the parents. You know, mom and dad might be okay with the Lolas and Lolas coming in, which is okay too. You do what's best for you and what's going to make you happy. That's ultimately what's going to be.
I've actually asked that question to myself all throughout the pregnancy during this COVID is, you know, how much can we expose the baby to other people, like our friends, our family, our parents, especially the look that my mom has to Alex. It's incomparable to how much happiness that brings me, being able to see her and now I'm crying. How happy it makes her to hold Alex.
Then
Not allow that to happen is very sad. But then it's for the protection of baby, right, baby?
Yeah.
It's very hard. And again, Kaye, I'm so glad that you're so empowering us to make sure that, you know, it's really up to the parents. So no matter how much pressure we feel, we should really just trust our instincts as moms and dads.
Yeah, I think we do a lot of FaceTime or Google Duo, like video conferencing, like every day, just to see how the body's growing. So, I mean, even I guess when the baby's born, that's how one way that we could at least be part of it. And I was just talking to my daughter the other day, like she was like freaking out because she didn't know what to do when the baby comes out. Because first she said there are no in-person training, and like what happens when she comes back? Maybe there'll be no food in the house. Like these are anxieties that she I think are legitimate concerns. So I mean, you guys went through the whole process. What do you think I should do?
Are you a good cook?
Yes.
There you go. Great for your daughter. Oh my gosh, that helps because your daughter's not gonna have enough time to like feed herself, unfortunately. So she's gonna want to have home cooked meals, feel soul food, things like that. I think that's definitely a plus. My husband's mom actually came over every once in a while, and she would bring us food for like an entire 2 weeks. Our entire refrigerator would be stocked up with so much vegetables. It was awesome. I didn't have to do anything except open it, throw it into the microwave, and then shove it in my mouth, and I'm good to go to breastfeed again.
So Kaye, when you were pregnant, were you still going to work?
Oh yeah, I was working. My mentality is this is the field that I'm in, and it seems like we need a lot of help. And so, you know, like it was really bad here in New York, really bad. It got to a point where when I was at work, literally every 10 minutes, we would be calling a code blue, or they would call an anesthesia stat, and my department has to be present to be there. We would either put in a breathing tube. Sometimes we would help hook them up to the ventilator if it's not even around. I mean, ventilators were a shortage at some point, so we had to mass ventilate them for a while. I mean, that stuff is scary, and you think to yourself, you're healthy now, you're in the field, you know what to do, you're a very skilled practitioner, and this could actually help your community. So I felt that it was just a calling that I just had to do. There was no other thing. No other thought came to my mind to not go to work.
And Meriden at least could work from home when you were pregnant, right?
Well, in the situation working in production, there's no work. So we have
that's right, yeah.
So we actually qualified for unemployment. So thankfully we got that that we qualified for, and on top of the stimulus package, that helped tremendously.
Did you get it?
Did you get anything? I'm sorry?
Did you get anything by way of a stimulus?
Oh, yeah. Like I qualified, thankfully, qualified for it. As you know, that I'm based in Los Angeles now. I'm having our parents living out of town. Like my parents are in New Jersey. Steve's parents are in San Francisco. They weren't going to let the pandemic stop them to visit. And I think during that time, like, I think our state, our governor was saying that we had to limit to small gatherings. And you know how it started before the whole quarantine, that they were slowly telling people, okay, it's 30 people. Now it's 10 people. So we lucked out. And I'm very thankful that in New Jersey, they just opened like COVID testing, like literally down the street from my parents' house, and so they actually tested right before they left. Everyone tested before they came to Los Angeles. So I mean, we were FaceTiming, we were discussing, okay, what was I comfortable with? And they of course asked permission. You know, I really wanted them to be there, so I made that decision to say like, yes, please be here. And thank God they did. I think I have no regrets. And we tested again, we're all still negative. So so we took that risk knowing, well, I just knew that was our route. I didn't want to, I guess for me personally, that was my decision. I didn't want her grandparents to not see her. And actually she was born 10 days earlier. So
I just have a quick question. Do babies get tested for COVID? Are they susceptible to COVID? Kaye.
Yes, they are susceptible to COVID just because they're brand new. They haven't really been exposed to anything.
Okay.
As far as them getting tested, super rare. It's just assumed that if mom is positive, more than likely baby will be, if not already is positive. But usually what happens during birth is that it's really sad. If mom is positive and baby still is about to be delivered, baby will actually be taken to a side real quick to be assessed. Said hello to the mom, but mom will not hold baby. Mom will only hold baby when mom is getting ready to leave and be discharged to go home. But that's the one way that the hospital can protect the child from being exposed. But once the child is home, I mean, it's up to the mom to do what she wants to do, whether to put on a face mask, wash her hands more often. I mean, those are all educational pearls that we try to tell moms, but it's really up to them. For the most part, children do well. Like we all know, children do really well. There's just the very rare ones that get very sick.
Yeah, I think one of the saddest things that I've encountered so far with like our family is that our baby, Alex, really only recognizes our parents when they have their masks on.
That is so weird. Yeah,
it's so strange. Like you could see the different reactions that he has towards my parents when they have masks and when they don't have masks. Like they're almost strangers.
That is interesting.
Yeah, even just at
is that the reaction to everybody that he sees, or just your parents?
Well, the thing is that that's his normal. Like his normal is that people are in masks, and the only time that he thinks it's not normal is, you know, me and Johnny not wearing masks. Like we're the only ones that he sees. So when we do wear masks out in public, he's kind of like a little weary. But
I wonder if that has a psychological impact. What do you think?
We're gonna find out. All these pandemic babies. Not sure how it's gonna impact them, but you know, that's the biggest thing for me is how do we keep surrounding baby with love, like physical contact, making sure that he sees and knows who his family are through FaceTime, at least.
I know we talked about FaceTime, and my brother in the Philippines just had a baby, like in February. So my mom's here. She couldn't go back to the Philippines because she can't travel. So we FaceTime every time. And the baby now is 8 months, and he looks in the camera as if it's normal. I mean, it's like what he sees every time, like our faces. So sometimes we have to move back to show the baby that we have body parts because it's not just the head. And his first word was hello, because we all saying hello, hello, hello. He just said hello. He was like videotaping, and then he said hello. So those are good parts. But my question is like during this COVID, most of us were isolated, are still being isolated, and mental health. It needs to affect our mental health. I mean, when you're pregnant, you're susceptible to that, and even after pregnancy, they get a postpartum depression. So how do you cope with all these challenges, and how do you adjust, and how do you think, you know, have a self-care for mental health? All the new moms.
I think YouTube was like my best friend, just like, or all those online courses. Like I think Rachelle mentioned it earlier, not being able to have those in-person training classes. So we had to resort to online courses. So I think and being part of other mom groups was a huge help. So that we have discussions like, oh, is this normal for my baby? My baby's doing this, or how about when does she start teething? Like, oh, we asked so many questions. That's actually more interactive. Pandemic, surprisingly, just without the physical aspect of it.
Yeah, to echo Meredin, I was asked to be part of this pregnancy video challenge, where we, danced in front of our cameras for a video with music, and I asked Meredin to join in. And now the pregnant ladies that were part of that video are now in this like mom group, and that's where I ask all these questions like, is it safe that that baby's doing this, is spitting so much, rolling around, like all these questions as first time moms, because we all gave birth within the same month.
Yeah.
That actually has been how I've been able to cope.
Mm-hmm.
Have your kids all been baptized already, christened?
Mine has not.
You're avoiding social gatherings,
Yeah, I think it depends on what church you're a part of, because I think my church is still at 25% capacity, so it's very small. So for that kind of I guess venue, they could hold about 180 or 170 parishioners. But yeah, I set up an appointment, went to my baptismal meeting and orientation, and I think we're going to try to shoot for early December. But we'll see how that goes. I mean, obviously that's going very into winter, so let's see how the numbers are going to be. But for the most part, they did give us an option, if possible, if needed, to do like a private kind of baptismal ceremony. But for the most part, they usually have like 2 to 5 families baptized together.
Yeah, we're going to be next week, and it's one family per session. So we have the whole church. And when you said 25% capacity, like I was like, oh, how many people can be in this spot? He's like, oh, 200. I was like, I'm not having 200 baptism. So yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh, Kaye,
I started crying a little bit.
My husband's doing pretty good, so I'm not bringing my baby.
I think with COVID, with the pandemic or the lockdown, since you are mostly working from home, I mean, aside from Kaye, you still went to the hospital to do your work. But you kind of like stay at home and working, and you were able to see your baby grow every day. I mean, can you imagine if this? I mean, that's time is like the good part of being at home and seeing your baby at the same time.
Mm-hmm. I have a question, curious question. If a vaccine becomes available, will you take it? And will you have your kids vaccinated too?
Yes. Yeah. It's similar to like the flu shot. I mean, if I'm assuming that when the vaccine comes in, it's going to be safe for our family. So I know, I think the first people will be people like Kaye, people who are frontliners. So I know I'll be safe to also get it. So Kaye, you are going to be my guinea pig, okay?
Yeah, I definitely do want to get it, but also I want to be able to pick and choose which one, because I know like there's like a number of them that came out. I forget what the term is, but one of them actually changes like the cell structure, or I really have to look into it a lot more. But I think the mRNA is something that I'm more leaning towards, if that ends up being available first or not. But as far as like my kids getting the vaccine, if they do trials on children, I don't know whether they did or did not. I mean, that's another thing that I'm going to look into. If they did, then yes. If it's effective and safe, I'll have her take it, and I also have my 3-year-old get it as well. But if it hasn't been tested yet, I am personally going to hold off, just because they are more likely going to be okay if they were to ever contract it. My main concern would be if they were to transfer that kind of illness to like my parents, which is their grandparents, who's like the elderly and more of that at-risk population.
And Meredin, you
I guess for me,
end up closing the episode soon.
Well, yeah, I'd like eventually. I think I will, but very similar. If it comes out right away, I'm not gonna jump to get the vaccine. I will hold off. Just personally, I will hold off. But yes, down the line, I would like to get the vaccine.
Great. So we do have to begin closing the episode, and I'd like to ask Kaye and Meredin one last question. What is the one piece of advice that you'd like to share with other moms who are going through these uncharted waters of being pregnant during COVID-19?
There's a lot of us out there. Definitely ask as many questions as you can. You're not alone. That's the main thing to remember. You're not alone. So if you have to speak to someone, feel free to do so. There's no shame in it.
Yes, I would say definitely take advantage of those free courses online and join groups. There's a lot of resources. Yes, join those groups. You're not alone, and you'll be fine. You'll be okay. And faith in God too. Have faith. Everything I believe everything is gonna be better. This is definitely a bump in the road, but you guys are strong women. We can do it together. Okay? What? You want to talk to? Oh, that's a great advice. Lots of kisses to your baby.
I just want to say something too.
Yes, thank you again, Kaye, Meredin, and the MNN team. Maraming salamat to all our supporters and viewers. I'm so thankful that we were able to take some time of all these new moms or second-time moms during this pandemic. And I'm so grateful to have you guys as friends and also as part of like my mom group who I get to ask questions nonstop in the middle of the night, like 2 a.m., just so that we could make sure that we get the best for our babies. So yes, thank you again. And from Makilala TV, we hope that you stay safe and take care. Say bye, baby.